there, wonderful viewers and fans of Living Television. I am glad you're there. I know you had expected your favorite program, Issues of the Moment. Sorry we could not be here on Tuesday due to technical hitches. Thank God we are here today. In today's Issues of the Moment, we'll be looking at the ASU federal government showdown looms over 40% revenue deduction from universities. And also, airport workers begin strike in Imo State. These and many more we'll be looking at today. And today, as usual, I have your analyst in the house today in the person of Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi. Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi is a historian and also a political affairs analyst, public affairs analyst, and a tele-evangelist. He's a man who loves dealing with dates and numbers. Comrade, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me join you. Good morning to you and good morning to our viewers.
All right, Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, is awaiting formal communication on a decision by the federal government to implement 40% deduction of the internally generated revenue IGR on federal universities and other partially funded public institutions. And one of the chairmen, or rather the chairman of ASU in Nasarawa State, that is Professor Samuel Ali, has described these as a draconian policy. He said when they are still expecting UNESCO's 26% to help the benchmark of academic institutions, and then the federal government is talking about deepening their hands in the ASU's internal generated revenue, that it is going to be very difficult, except they want to kill the federal universities in Nigeria. And we've talked about, there have been series of strikes and so on in Nigeria here as a result of not meeting up with the demands, of this same organization in the universities. Yes. And now they are talking about 40%, that they will be getting 40% from the internal generated revenue of the universities. How does that sound?
To be honest, it sounds ridiculous. Because the people who are at the helm of affairs were people who went to school in the days when virtually everything was subsidized. When, as a student, you are entitled to three square meal a day. And then again, you also have access to hostel facility, and nobody was charging you except perhaps in some schools as they did it then, when your grades were low. As long as you were able to make the cuts, then you will actually have access to hostel facilities, to accommodation, and then other facilities, including, as it were, a scholarship. But unfortunately today, things are actually taking a drastic turn. We are witnessing this, that the federal government is looking to expand the revenue base of the economy. And one of the sectors it had actually looked at in terms of dipping its hand into its coffers now became the universities. Whether you are saying federally, partially funded universities, or you are saying federal university, to me it does not sound. It sounds to me it's awkward in many ways than just one. And I will explain. You see, in a country like ours, you situate our education sector with other countries, you begin to understand why education has fallen so low. The other day we were talking about ministers we are appointing, including those who flunked their papers. They couldn't even pass their papers. So we are appointing the ministers. Now we have directed this attack, one-ton attack. We have directed it at education sector, not the most vital sector we should be talking about. And when you were reading out your program, you did say 26% of the budgetary allocation should go to education as United Nations Education Scientific Cultural Organization guideline or standard. Unfortunately, the former Minister of Education denied that, said there is nothing like 26% or 25% of budgetary allocation being awarded to the sector as a global initiative of the UNESCO. That there was no such thing. He denied it. That's Adamu. Now, you see the way we have been handling our education sector. You could remember very well that during the COVID-19 pandemic, Nigerians were falling over themselves to get access or to access AstraZeneca and other drugs. But AstraZeneca was built or was actually developed, you understand, or was actually produced by, in fact, it was a result of research that took place in a university between Oxford University and AstraZeneca Pharmaceutical Company. You understand? But that time, the Nigerian universities were on strike during that time, and then the world was shrinking, and the only thing that would have saved the world that time was research and their findings. You understand? But Nigerian universities were nowhere to be found that time. And they remember that at the point we've had 6 months strike, 8 months strike. If you calculate what we've been the strikes we've had in the last 8 or 6 years, you will know that students have actually missed one, in fact, a full session. Yes. You understand, or even 2 of such. And now you ask yourself, where is this coming from? This is coming from the policy of federal government in 2021, the Finance Act of 2021, which mandated the 40% internal revenue. Now ask yourself, what is the revenue of the university? How do they even get money? They are not quoted or listed in the Nigerian Stock Exchange. They don't do business. What they normally do is what they call service charge. You use library, you pay a token. You use the computer, the ICT hub in the university, you pay a token. You also use other facilities in the school, even ID card, understand? Even laboratory, you also pay a token for the maintenance and upkeep of those facilities you are using. Then a little will now be saved, or as part of what you are calling internal revenue, for the university to also take care of some other challenges they may have, like paying cleaners and then those who come to clean.
What about tuition fees?
And then, by virtue of our laws, the federal universities don't even pay tuition. That's what the assumption is. Although I know where you're coming from, the assumption is that no university.
It's an assumption.
Yes,
but
then the practice is different from the assumption. You understand? The practice, you understand? Reality is different from mere presumptions or assumptions, as the case may be. Now, you see that in a situation where we are today, we're supposed to be subsidizing education, because education in our system drastically has fallen below in fact the expectation of the ordinary person. So instead of the federal government to be funding education, you understand, to be subsidizing education, if possible, to provide even palliative for students, and then lecturers, the government is looking to deduct money from the little revenue the university get from people who are using from clientele. You understand? Who use their library, and then laboratory, and then consultants, and then researchers who may come, you understand, and pay some money. This is the money the federal government is looking to deduct, and then other monies they may get from by way of like you say, tuition and other things they pay at the department level. So it's unfortunate that we are at this place in this day and age.
All right, considering what has happened recently in various courts, both during the time of the past administration, Major General Buhari retired, and also what just happened with the Apex Court also in this dispensation as well. Yes. And then some of the university dons are saying that this is a deliberate attempt to ensure that public universities are closed down, because just like you analyzed, the 40%, if you remove 40% from the bigger money they make, what remains, and what becomes of the university, and how much is coming from the federal government to enable the universities to take care of them? Do you agree with them that these a style to ensure that the public universities are closed down?
To an extent, even though the government may not know or may not be intentional about closing down university, but then by practice, by implication, that is what that policy may actually lead to or culminate in. And I will explain to you why. You see, there are, as you have been saying, we want financial autonomy. We don't want to be included in your payroll system. You understand? In your NIP and whatever other programs you have for integrated payment platforms. We want our own independent platform. And the federal government is saying, no, we want to bring you in so that we can check excesses. You understand? That has been a problem. Now, we are talking about university systems, and we all agree, even during the campaign, virtually all the presidential candidates, all the presidential hopefuls then, they say that university should be free. Peter Obi said so. All of them, they all agree that university should be autonomous. And autonomy should also involve their finance too. So the little money they're generating, it's unfortunate that instead of universities being run through charity, you understand, and then things like endowment, and then the universities in Nigeria are still run through subvention from the federal government or state government, in which case they end up hijacking the structure of the university. And I will tell you something, in the civilized world, so-called, there is what you know as endowment. If, for example, a wealthy man is sick and is sick of cancer, you understand, and he had actually seen his death, he could vote out some huge amount of money for research in that disease that he is dying of. This is the kind of life these people live. And now they will now form an institute. They will name after that dying man. And it will be a research center exclusively for that particular place. Then they begin to appeal to the public. Other donations will come. Universities abroad are funded through public fund and taxpayers' money, not from federal government giving out money to an institution like Oxford or to institutions. So it's unfortunate we've not been able to evolve a similar system here. Every financial year, the federal government is telling you stuff about personnel costs. And they also involve staff of the federal university. You understand? Staff of the federal universities. They are also telling you things about recurrent expenditure and all. These are just the areas where establishment go to. But then it's important we begin to build a framework. We begin to build systems that enable universities to function independently. Until then, we cannot have a virile and functional and robust education sector.
All right. One time, a social and public commentator once said that if the federal government reels out money at the end of every month to various state governments in the name of allocation and so on, why will there be this discrepancy of state university and federal university? Why can't these universities come together under that umbrella and then be sponsored by federal government? And then university is a university, whether state or federal. How do you look at that?
I think from the making of our laws, the constitution is clear that education shall be in the concurrent list. Every education is on the concurrent list. So where the federal and the state government legislate matters. So that's why you see the state government only invest. In fact, at a point it was a problem for private universities to invest. If you remember Nnamdi Kanu very well, the matter of Nnamdi Kanu, who tried to build a private university in the 1970s, Tedem University, the first of its kind in the whole federation. That was actually resisted by Simon Mbakwe. A lot of people came out to say there was a political feud or tension between the two. Remember, they were warring camps during the campaign. And then the person who actually stood against that was Justice Chukwudifo Oputa, then as the Chief Judge of Odimo State, before he proceeded to the Supreme Court. But what I want to say is that if we are to talk about education being robust, but believe you me, federal government or state government should have no business talking about subvention. And if you look at the amount they are giving, you give 1 naira. You also want to take 50 kobo from the source with left hand, as we are seeing now. And it's actually giving federal and state government a lot of leeway than is necessary in terms of appointment of VC, in terms of appointment of who heads which
provost,
group, provost, rectors, and what have you. And it's unfortunate. Now, if you bring it back to the state level too, the same thing is happening. We remember here vividly that Abia State Polytechnic at a point lost accreditation for some certain courses and programs that were
for non-payment of salary.
For non-payment of salary, and it was there because the state government became unable to fund that sector. It became, see, government is a really structure already, bloated in structure. You don't even need to add more. So where we are today, the government should have no business sponsoring us.
Okay, while we are talking about that, you remember now that you mentioned Abia State Polytechnics during the time of the past administration, they were held up to 3 years.
Yeah.
About that, even as we speak, that debt is still outstanding.
Yes.
And then the new governor said he's going to
pay,
offset the bills and you pay. So, but even as we speak, when you talk about the state government and so many of these state universities, rather tertiary institutions also, for instance, as we speak now, their subvention is supposed to be about 90 million, and the situation they are given 50. What's the government? Where are they expecting that they should get this to balance up the payment of
that
salary?
is why what is called tuition fee keeps increasing. Abia State University, they are paying, some of them are even paying ahead up to 200,000 naira. Lagos State University, their own was increased. There was a protest about that one. In fact, virtually all the federal universities and then the state universities, what they call tuition has actually increased. You understand? But in most cases by 300%. In some cases,
because the government are not doing what they are supposed to.
Because the government can no longer manage university. You see, there is no how the government can actually fold its arms and watch education go south. What the government has to do, even if it is funding, it doesn't have to be fully funding the university. What the government has to do is just to create an environment through laws, through policies, and then through action plans, you understand, that make education robust, and then create a win-win outcome for these lecturers. If a lecturer, now listen, if a lecturer is sure that his salary will increase if he works hard, he will work hard. In this part of the world, researches are no longer being sponsored. In fact, let me share this story here. At the time I was in Oka, something happened. Coronavirus was happening then. I proposed to write a thesis, the impact of coronavirus on Ebola virus, not corona. The impact of Ebola virus on international relations of West African states, trying to narrow down on ECOWAS, because that time the relations of ECOWAS countries plummeted. It went down, you understand? Many countries were severing diplomatic ties, including flight operations. Ghana and Nigeria cancelled flight operation. It was happening in the Gambia and Liberia. And then ECOWAS was talking about what freedom of movement of persons and charters or who cross the border, you understand? But unfortunately, I said, okay, let me inquire or the professor told me, I cannot supervise this, so this is still happening. It is emerging. It is still emerging. You understand? I cannot supervise. We are going to get the material. So we don't want to explore new areas. We are always afraid. But if a lecturer is sure that if he does something new, now, do you know what that finding would have resulted in? At least within the diplomatic circle. Now, if we are eager to venture or to go into these fields and explore, you see that our lecturers will now know that their promotion is not tied to their connection to the governor. You understand? Or whoever is there, or whoever is commissioner, or whoever is there. In this stage, we've witnessed where is a prominent person, and the man who taught me, Professor Anthony Mwabo, God rest his soul, was supposed to be a VC. And for one thing or the other, they said from the government's house then, as it were, the whole thing was hijacked. It's been happening that way. So, being that we have this kind of education where you have lecturers and dons, professors, cower to powers that be, you can't get it right. And to a extent, that is why we are bastardizing the sector. We are using professors to rig election. We are using them to, in fact, you see the iron, you owe them 6 months, 9 months, 10 months. you call them in to come and handle the election. Which hungry man will go to the polls without being compromised? And when you have billions and billions and these fat envelopes and billions and money bags are everywhere, you want the persons you are owing 10 months, 6 months. You didn't joke me. I think a former governor of this state, in fact, the past administration, there was an administration that wanted to embark on a strike over non-payment of salaries. The governor, we were told, asked the people with him, do you have someone in that school? He said, no. Do you have someone in that school? No. Do you have someone in that school? He said, no. If you want to embark on strike, me too. I don't have anyone in that school. You can log up the school and bring the kids. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate the system will run. Because these ones do not have their children here. Their children are abroad. You understand? And unfortunately, again, there was a time I read somewhere that Dangote was investing money for research, awarding money for research. Dangote, one of the wealthy men in Nigeria, was awarding research endowment fund to a foreign institution. Now, ask yourself, how much does the University of Nigeria and Soccer get for endowment? When it calls for research paper, how many persons write in? You understand? How much does Abia State University, as an institution, is standard of intellectual refinement and learning? How much does it get as endowment from the public? But every day our politicians will loot all this money they loot. They don't even invest it in a reasonable area. They want to go and build hotels in Dubai. In fact, they want to live in choice places like Midtown Manhattan and the rest of them in the US. So it's unfortunate.
All right, now still talking about education and the system, you know what is happening today. And if you look at what is happening in that sector, you discover that most often it looks as if what comes out most of the years are half-baked, or rather copy-based,
yes,
and so on. And then what do you attribute that to?
Yes, I attribute it to system failure and the paradigm shift. I'm sorry, the time you left university, if you go back to your school, to your alma mater, you will cry. Myself, I just left few decades ago. If I go back there, I also cry. You see that we were lucky. Jim Achebe will say a lucky generation. We were lucky to an extent that when we were there, the number of students were about 190 something. Today, in one class, we have over 200 persons.
To 5 at
time. You understand? Some are on the window. Some are sitting down. Some, in fact, during a postgraduate degree at Oka, we learned under a tree. I'm talking about 2014. At a point we learned that there are lack of facilities, and that's why I asked you saying, give us this money we are asking for. You know what I'm saying now? The money they've been asking, the trillions of naira they've been asking for. Give us this money. We want to build state-of-the-art hostels and other learning facilities to encourage learning. No person learns under a rowdy, in fact, a disorganized environment. In most laboratories, they are still using stove instead of Bunsen burner. They are still using stove. I'm talking about stove. They are using, and then in most cases, students are the ones to buy laboratory equipment, even chemicals. Students are the ones to contribute money to buy chemicals for life. Now, if you come to your school library now today, you may see that the last time they restocked the shelf would have been about 10 years ago. All the books there are old ones. So why won't our education system drastically fall? So until we begin to make that conscious effort, that we begin to see, hey, you have to invest in this place. People are making money. You understand? We prefer to give big money to imam and pastors and what have you. But you don't give to the sector we're supposed to give. So every other person, you want your pastor is talking, you want to give pastor money, you want to pay tithe, you want to pay. But you do not invest in the learning of the future that is to be born.
I think it was in this platform we talked about education. If there is anywhere the federal government, our lawmakers, if there's anywhere they're going to promulgate a law that will prohibit all these government functionaries from sending their children abroad.
Yes.
I think that is the only way we are going to get education.
Yes. Because Prof, let me give you a shocker. In your time, you could see a governor's son or daughter in your class.
Yes.
Education used to be a leveler. I know the caliber of students I was with in my time, but you see, immediately we left, or even before we left the university system, 15, 16, 10 years ago, you see that you hardly see the daughter or the son of a local government chairman.
That's true.
In a university like Ade State University or in Nseka, all of them are now abroad, where they live after education. They begin to work there. And I have to tell you this, before now, education used to be a leveler that will bring the children of the middle class, the poor, the wealthy, the poor of the poor, the poorest of the poor rather, bringing all of them together, and they begin to have something in common, begin to have a particular worldview, the same perspective, learning under the same circumstances and then in the same environment. But unfortunately, those things have actually disappeared, meaning that today education in Nigeria is for the poor, even though they keep increasing the price.
It's like the likes of Wallace and Yinka saw that when they formed the Magnificent Seven, the pirates.
Yes.
In those days.
Those were part of the things they were trying to
misunderstood.
Yes, those were the things they were trying to protest. You understand? Marginalization, exploitation, and the deceit happening in the sector.
All right, surely before we go on break, let us also look at this. Recently, we had a professor working under a man who came up with affidavit as a certificate, and it was allowed in our judiciary system here. And so on. Do you think the federal government, both federal and state government, do you think they are helping in this education, in this educational sector?
No, they are
especially
not
here in Nigeria.
They are not helping, especially here in Abia. They are not helping. The money is not even especially in Nigeria. Here in Abia, the highest that has been invested so far, I think about 8% of the budget. It's never been up to 10. It'll be about 8. Every time you are hearing 6, 5 point something percent. Every time you look at the budget outlook, you understand the outlay of the budget, you begin to see the paltry thing they are investing to education. Now, if you live in a country where the wife of a president will use 1.5 billion naira to buy vehicles for non-existent office that is not even recognized by our laws, then the president himself will use about 1.7 billion naira. Then we hear about presidential yachts of 5 billion naira. Then the National Assembly members will now use vehicles bought with 160 billion naira each person. 469 members, 360 members from the House of Reps, 109 members from the Senate. Then the chief justices, the judges of the Supreme Court, about 10 or 13 of them or so, they will also use their own. Then the judges at the state level, then talk about the governor. You see how profligate, you see how wasteful we are.
And
then if we talk about education tax, how much goes to education tax? That's number one question. You understand? How much of the taxes go to education in terms of tax? So we have not actually worn our thinking cap to begin to interrogate some of these things.
All right, you're talking about this 40% deduction from the federal government, the Nigerian universities, especially the federal universities, and so on. And then the federal government deepening their hands, into the coffers of higher institutions to take away money as we speak. Is it proper?
It's not proper and can never be said to be so. You understand? Because it's like a man giving the wife money to buy food, and the wife is keeping that money somewhere, maybe preparing. The man went to steal from that money to go and drink or something. I wouldn't know. So to me, I would say it's not wise, it's not proper. The federal government should be more articulate, be more about. There are a lot of informal sectors and businesses. The federal government can actually expand the tax base. I understand that the federal government is looking to do what? Generate funds. They are cash strapped. Debt profile is bloated. You can see trillions of naira. We are talking about the other day, both the domestic and then external. But
413.4
trillion. Yes, but they have to be more creative in exploring other alternatives. Not necessarily going into it, because if you go to education, you would have actually done what? Narrowed down development. Because there are people, when you increase the cost of education, you are actually
throwing them out of
the system, and those may be the brilliant ones.
All right, let's just take this before we go. Now talking about this. Now, don't you think it is proper? Because this government, shortly before the swearing in of this Nasset administration,
Yes.
led by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a lot of writers, commentators talked about costing down on cost of government. And now, the 160 million, and then 160 million SUV per person. We are not talking about other things like wardrobe allowance and so on. And then we are not talking about the ministers, just like you mentioned, so many of them. Is that not enough? If I wouldn't want to use the word insensitive like a lot of people say about the government. Now, is that not enough? They have cost down on our governance. Don't you think that this would have been enough to boost the academic system?
Yes.
If our
Yes,
government so deep.
let me shock you now. In the 1970s and 1960s, there was apartheid in South Africa.
Yes.
The blacks were not allowed to get quality education. Do you know their destination? Their destination became University of Nigeria and Soccer and Ibadan. South Africa, you understand? We are here. Yes, they were here. Some of them were here, University of Ibadan, some of them during the apartheid. Then, in the 1970s, the University of Nigeria and Soccer used to have what is known as, or what was known then as African Center for African Studies. Do you know what happened? Scholars from Egypt, scholars from everywhere, we are coming here for what? For fellowship and research. You understand what I'm saying now? For fellowship, if you are a fellow, you are also doing a research, and money will be coming to the coffers of the school, and that is how school can become financially autonomous. Now, University of Ibadan had what they called the Ibadan School, when Kenneth Omukadike, a first-rate historian, a consummate historian, Kenneth Omukadike, Adela Fibo, Debbie Oku, Ikimi, Obaro Ikimi, and the rest of them, they were in that school. They were, in fact, they were able to establish a flagship historical scholarship that attracted non-Nigerians. In which case, Nigeria education sector made money for the federal government, to the coffers of the state, you understand? But unfortunately, we are not sustainable when it comes to some of this culture. If we had been able to build robustly our research centers, I'm telling you, Nigeria will be a hub of academic tourism. But it's unfortunate, we are still falling from, like my lecturer we tell me those days, Professor A.I. Mahabod. It is unfortunate that why the white man has suspended himself at this place, our uncles are still falling from the palm trees.
All right, wonderful. Yes, this is where we are going to go on a very short break. When we come back, issues of the moment will continue. Don't go away. Remember, as we come back, we're going to look at the airport workers as they begin their strike. They started their strike yesterday, and it's already affecting a lot of government functionaries who are stuck at various airports in Nigeria today. When we come back, we'll look at that. Don't go away. We'll be back shortly. All right, our wonderful viewers, I'm glad you are still there. Thank you for being part of today's program. I'm sure you're enjoying it. Remember when they say the youth are the future tomorrow, or leaders of tomorrow? I don't know what that it's supposed to mean. I don't know what it means in your own thinking and analysis. What is that supposed to mean? Can we talk about good leaders tomorrow of our youth when the schools are not functioning properly well? That's exactly what we have looked at, at that first segment. In this second guest segment, we'll be looking at what happened. I'm sure all of you are aware of the story, how the president of Nigerian Labour Congress, Ajaero, was dealt with. Some people in special English said he was well panel beaten and was well dealt with. And so that's exactly what we're looking at. And then there is no how the NLC and the TUC would have kept quiet over such, and that is why the airport workers, they started their strike yesterday, and it's already beginning to affect a lot of government functionaries who have one or two places to go. It's not affecting those who are traveling by land. I thought they would have also extended that to the parks, both the parks and so on. But the NUC is talking about just talking about the airports. Travelers and airline navigating through Imo State might need to explore alternative options given the aviation union's decision to initiate a complete withdrawal of workers at the Sam Mbakwe Airport in Owerri. This came even as the unions declared the state governor, Hope Uzodimma, persona non grata at all airports nationwide until further notice.
A very huge one.
What would you say to this?
A very huge one. But declaring a no-fly zone, declaring Imo a no-fly zone, you understand? Or, as it were, shutting all air operations from and to Imo State. How does it affect the governor, who can hire a private jet and mobilize himself and go about his business? It's affecting mostly the poor, the indigent ones who may have need to travel via air, you understand? And then, as it may be, or as bad as it is, let me say this, it is condemnable what happened to Ajaero. If you had seen his face, yes, on the social media platforms where the picture was shared, I felt my heart felt for him. And I will tell you something. It is also so horrible and unthinkable that after that brutalization and dehumanization of this man, the same faceless and nameless dogs thronged his village, thinking he was there at Emekubu, accompanied by the Nigerian police, as we heard. You understand? The allegation now that the Nigerian police is complicit. You understand? To an extent, there had been, I've also read the release from the Nigerian police saying that they had no hand in. They even came to safeguard the man. Where did you take him to that he became very actually incommunicable? In fact, people could not reach him for some hours. You understand? I don't really. Yeah. So now the question becomes, where does the right to organize, and right to peaceful assembly, and right to work and receive commensurate payment, and right to freedom of expression, all which are embedded, even right to protest, in the international labor laws, to which Nigeria is a signatory, to which Nigeria is a state party, where do these laws stop? And where do the government begins to exercise powers beyond and above these laws? And I'll tell you something. In international law, when once you are a signatory to a particular convention, when once you ratify the particular convention, it will be protocol which is subject to amendment, known as optional protocol. You do not have right whatsoever to go against that law, because international law, you don't put your domestic law over international law. Election is important in Imo State, but what is happening in Imo State, the allegations there have grave international implication. International Labour Organization is, in fact, the oldest international organizations. You understand? So the laws, the labor laws, are usually harmonious. They are partly or partially the same for every country because it's standardized. Now, you do not have right whatsoever to own a worker. And when you own them, they have right to protest. You understand? Legitimate protest, not unlawful protest. Now, what happened in Imo State is condemnable because even as we speak, the president has yet to condemn that. We are talking about the leader of a national a union. If you know what the unions did for us prior to independence, we are talking about people like Michael Imodu, Ndoka Eze, and the rest of them. These are the people you are telling me that you are attacking, whether you are a dog or whether you are a personnel of the police force. You understand? Then it's unfortunate that the federal government did not say anything, the state government did not say anything, and the labor kept crying, kept asking questions.
Well, this morning the
governor had been forced to, the governor had been
the governor, the presidency also condemned the NLC.
After how many days?
And
they even condemned the NLC.
Minister for Aviation.
The Minister of Aviation was talking, condemning the NLC, and also saying he felt or he's sympathizing with Ajero. That what happened to him shouldn't have happened. I am not for the strike because it's not a win-win situation. Because the sufferers. Now listen, we are aware that Governor Hope Uzodimma, we saw the memo, we saw the letter, the directive to all the hoteliers, telling them to give up their accommodation, their rooms, whether they be suites, whether they be rooms or whatever. They should give those things up. And as we speak now, we are getting the figures too that some of those places are very virtually under occupation by non-existent humans. The implication is that people who are supposed to observe this election may not be able to do what? To participate. And we are talking about an election where projections and predictions are saying there is likely to be voter apathy. Because of what? We are still fresh from the 2023 polls. People are still disappointed and are not happy with the institutions, both INEC and the law courts. And this is happening. The other thing there is that shutting or ending or suspending air operation and services could also hamper the ability of observers to come or to fly in. So you see that in all, both the labor and their affiliate unions, and then all the aviation unions, all of them, together with the governors, including non-state actors like the enforcers of sit at home, who are actually declared from 9th till 14th of next month, from 9th of this month to I think 12th of next month, as at home, they are shrinking the civic space. They are to an extent shrinking the democratic landscape, where the common man has to be free to exercise his rights, his franchise. So I think it is condemnable. Like I said, what actually happened to Ajero, it is very condemnable, and it is worrisome that the federal government could not release a statement to condemn that. More worrisome too that the police could not make a single arrest of those dogs. Who are they? Who was their sponsor? From whom were they taking orders? So it is unfortunate.
Well, as monitored by the Living Television news agents, we also learned that the Nigerian police in Owerri watched while these things happened, while these developments,
yes.
Nothing, they did nothing about it. Rather, when they were accused, they also said they assisted in taking him into custody. Well, on release,
in taking
we saw
the protective custody.
In protective custody, yes. And then when he was released from that protective custody, we saw the bruises all over and so on. So, who protected who?
Yes.
And,
it's a big question.
And what happened?
At what cost?
Now, do we now assume that what happened to Ajero, how it was brutally dealt with, was as a result of that protective custody?
Yes, these are the questions I think when he begin to seek redress at the court, or maybe he begin to enforce his rights. These are the questions that will actually come up. But it's unfortunate the way the man was handled or manhandled. It was too barbaric. You understand? It was too barbaric, and then it's evident of the system we are running here. And then my own is this: the governor of Imo State had actually shrunk the democratic space in that state. It is reported, in fact, it was reported that opposition parties or the opposition is not allowed to place their banner, their posters and publicity materials and what have you It's also
There's an eyewitness said that
yes.
you get to where you can't see any opposition.
Yes. Posters. Except the one of the governor. As we speak here, some hotels had been taken up. Even when there are no persons there. We saw how 5.something billion naira was actually voted out for this very purpose. And as we speak also, non-state actors acting, you understand, allegedly in the interest of the state government, had narrowed down the space where people have been brutalized, people have been intimidated. In fact, a society group I'm close to conducted a survey a few days ago, and they said according to their survey, 18 out of every 25 persons do not know yet whether they will come out to vote. 18 out of every 25 persons do not know yet whether they will come out to vote. It is not that they do not know yet whether they will come out to vote. Then the remaining figure comprises those who will come out to vote and those who will not come out to vote. I'm saying that 18 undecided voters, 18 out of 25, then 7 could be involved, those who will vote and those who will not. You can imagine what you are.
Now, the Inspector General of Police released that about 20-something thousand policemen to Imo State. Don't you think they will help making sure that
you see, we militarize election. We militarize election, and it's unfortunate. If you see where elections are happening in abroad, maybe let's say America, people go from their offices to vote. You even vote by proxy. You are working in New Jersey, you are living in New York, maybe by contiguity or by whatever factor, or whatever, any other geographical circumstance or even location, you can still vote by proxy. You can. There's what they call mail-in vote. You can mail in your vote. You understand? But unfortunately, here we are even still battling with electronic transmission of result, and the court will now look for how to interpret Section 64 of the Electoral Act to mean that the commission that says I will transmit the election electronically so that you will view in real time has no longer aired in law. So this is the problem we are having. If you are talking about this very police in Anambra, I can tell you that I remember vividly in Anambra 2017 or so, during the time they deployed over 30,000, almost 30,000, and they will deploy a combined team, both air, land, and living by water. You begin to wonder whether we are at war, whether the state where election is happening is under siege. You begin to wonder, but yet political thugs who are close to powers that be will still end up carrying sensitive materials, and it's unfortunate for us. This should be an ample opportunity for INEC to win back the lost confidence and bridge the apathy gap or the gap in confidence. But unfortunately, I do not know how that commission will go about it. Already they are talking about electronic transmission or not electronic transmission. We don't even know where we are yet. I have heard from the chairman, Mahmoud Yakub, who said it will be done electronically when he was monitoring the Kogi mock elections. Then at a town hall meeting in Abuja, the acting voter education commissioner of the commission also said electronically. But the Bayelsa said it will be done manually. This morning too, I have heard something about manual.
Yes,
I don't even know
yes,
so I do not know. But let us also understand that the court had already created a precedent for us. At this rate, since the law articulated manual and also articulated electronic transmission, manual can never be wrong. So if they do it, but then you must remember also that the insecurity in Imo State and the Kogi State and also Bayelsa. Now I will give you a brief rundown. In Kogi, here you are having Senator Dino Melaye and the young man from SDP who is also making waves, and then Ododo who is from APC, the handpicked and chosen candidates of Yaya Bello. You see, it's going to be a very tough fight. Yaya Bello had actually threatened that he was a lion in the past. Now, this election, he has something, an interest to protect his ally, must be there, come rain or shine. Dino Melaye is leaving nothing to chance. And we know his type, we know his type of person. Given that the Kogi security landscape had also actually suffered rupture and puncture we may witness election that may not totally be conflict-free. Then bring it to Bayelsa. Recently, INEC, based on the directive and mandates given by the appeal court, added the name of Tim Silva. There is also a constitutional implication to that because he's been governor twice, although removed by the court. The court will also tell us whether that removal automatically vanished that office or it allowed it to exist. Now, it's also the incumbent governor, the Odiri, is also standing election. And then it's a very tough one. Then bring it down to Imo State, where you have 18 candidates, but they have narrowed it down to 4. Atana Chono of Labour Party. Sam Daddy, Sam Anyamu of PDP, the governor from APC, and this young man from AA. So it's going to be a keenly contested one. But many people are believing that the odds may likely favor the incumbent governor, given the fact that apathy may be there, one, given the fact that he is to an extent in control of security architecture of the state. Though the commissioner for police in the state, Badem, had been redeployed. There were also concerns that INEC REC be redeployed. But then INEC said no, we cannot bring a total stranger to an unfamiliar terrain days to the election, because if we do that, he may not understand. He don't even. How are we sure that the parents will know the number of wards, the number of polling units, what to do, and how to coordinate and operate that election? So it's going to be a very huge one. But I think also a litmus test for INEC to right the wrong of February and March 2023, and it came very short. But unfortunately, INEC has been trying to do something. Reach out to Nigerians, win back confidence. There was no confidence building. There was no town hall. There was no way INEC reached out to the public to say, we understand the lapses. We take the blame. We want you to still believe in this process. It was still the same INEC that conducted the Anambra State election. I'm talking about Mahmoud Yakub, that conducted the Anambra State election, the Osun State election, the Ekiti State election. People saw as near credible, to the extent that we had less of litigation. You understand? Even in Anambra, one of those who lost called Governor Soludo to thank him. Then, going to the general elections of 2023, people believed the process was going to be credible as such. But to a large extent, we all came out of that very exercise disappointed. And I pray it doesn't also pan out the same way with this.
All right.
Elections.
What has been happening in Imo State, the incessant killings and so on by both security operatives, non-gunmen, and so on. And then if you now add it to what has happened to the president of NLC, Chief Ajero, and then almost all the public are saying it is what is happening is as a result of Uzodimma's insensitivity in governance that has led this. And then the joint session of NLC, TUC, and other affiliate bodies, they have directed all aviation workers, both public and private, to withdraw all services to all Owerri flights, inwards and outwards, from any airport in Nigeria, with effect from yesterday.
Yes.
And in addition, the person of Uzodimma, the governor of Imo State, like we said earlier, declared persona non grata, and said that what do you think it's what do you think this thing is going to mean to Imolites in this election?
It's hardship for them. Already in fact, majority of the towns in that state have not seen light. There's power outage. What is happening there? That place is nearly becoming Gaza. It's just that bombs are not raining. Just that bombs are not raining the way they are raining in Gaza. I'm talking about facilities, in terms of access to facilities. It's not there much. That's it again. I think I was reading the report from Ghana Airlines. They said they deported their passengers who were traveling from Abuja en route to Owerri. From Abuja en route to Owerri. They deported, I think they deplaned them, and they lost 45 million naira. Airpeace also lost huge sums of money. The flashpoint of these protests became Lagos, Abuja, and Owerri itself. In Abuja, it affected even international travel because the unionists and the aviation union members and then the other affiliate bodies of the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress picketed the airports and blocked access for many hours. No movement, nothing. If you had seen the picture of congestion at the airports, you would have beaten this country. Then bring it down to Imo State. In fact, they had actually declared Imo State a no-fly zone. And as we speak now, not passengers, not goods, not anything, not cargoes are coming into that state. So economically, it's going to affect the state. Where also you have the hotels already taken up, it's also going to affect the state. Where you have movement restricted, it's also going to affect economic activities. Now, worsened by the sit-at-home threats. You understand? So, to me, a lot is happening there. But then, people had actually expressed worry over the ambition of Governor Hope Uzodinma. A lot of people believe he's over-ambitious and he can go the extra mile to have his way come this election. And that is why you are seeing some of the things you are seeing. But the fact that kinetic force is being deployed, whether you're talking about from the uniformed servicemen or from non-state actors, you understand? So it's become a terrific one. And the people who are suffering this are the Imolites. The same beautiful questions you ask. How does this affect the Imolites? It's affecting their businesses when they don't have access to power, when they cannot come out of their house freely to exercise their franchise, when they are living in fear. It's a serious one for them. And by the time we begin to calculate, you see that what we might have lost could have been incalculable.
All right, before we go for the day, recently we learned yesterday or this morning that Uzodinma has apologized. And so many commentators are saying that the apology is belated because they've really waited. And even before the decision of these NUC, NLC, TUC, and all the affiliate bodies to stop all aviation workers, before now, that Uzodinma was supposed to have done something. What would you say about that his apology?
Yes, it was too late, if you ask me, because this thing we're talking about happened on the 1st of November. That's last week Wednesday. And today is what? Today is Friday.
Today is Friday.
You understand? That's after 9 days. You are issuing an apology. And the question I've always asked is, who ordered the contingent of the police that went to Uzodinma's hometown? Who ordered them to go there, together with those hoodlums who were cited? Who ordered them to go there? You understand? So the apology, to me, it should be accepted in the interest of peace, to allow Imolites exercise their franchise and then enjoy their civic right. But if you look at that apology, if you have to treat it exclusively, it is not here, it is not there. It makes no meaning and it makes no difference automatically, because the people who humiliated, who embarrassed, who brutalized, who assailed and assaulted the unionists, Comrade Joe Ajaero, are still at large. They are still at large. Any arrest? No arrest. Not even a single one. No trial has been made. The president has not talked. Nobody is talking. So you have to understand this. So to me, it's a complicated thing. And if you begin to paint the scenario, you see that the labor, what they are trying to do is they are hinging it on injury to one is injury to all. If you had listened to the speech from the TUC leader, you would have understood how they narrowed this strike. They said they were replying Festus Keyamo, who said aviation didn't do anything. So they told him that the Nigerian police force that orchestrated this, as they said, belongs to the federal government. It's known as Nigeria Police Force, not Imo State Police Force.
Yeah, exactly.
You understand? That they take order from the IG, Inspector General, who takes order from the President, Commander-in-Chief. You see that chain now?
Yeah.
They now said again that the airports, when they talk about aviation, belongs to the federal government. So if the federal government had been so silent over the days when this thing happened, they must also go the extra mile. You understand? Including embarrassing that same federal government to drive home their demand and wait for it. They are saying that from the 14th of this month, the mother of all strikes will commence. And it should be in the interest of the president, because if they down tools, my brother, is going to affect virtually every sector. Yeah. If they should down tools, if they should tell workers down tools now, it will definitely affect every sector. And I think it should be in the interest of
Mr.
Ministry of Labor and then the president to know what to do concerning this issue. Even if it means bringing Ajero on board to have a talk with him, apologize to him, see where to address it. And that's why you are a leader. So if you keep being indifferent to this, who knows? This may be a conflagration, capable of consuming the country. But I pray it doesn't reach that extent.
All right, wonderful viewers, there's the much we're going to take for today. Charity, they say, begins at home, and that is why a lot of Nigerians are blaming the Imo State government, because Imo State happens to be Ajero's state, and then and they'll be moving to other states without experiencing such that level of brutality. Yeah. It really happened in his own state, so you can see what we're talking about. But just like Comrade said, I think for the interest of peace and for us to have a peaceful election in Imo State, I think they should accept the governor's apology and let us move ahead. Having said that, this is the much we're going to take today. And your analyst today has been Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi. Comrade, we're very pleased to have you again today.
It's always my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you once again. Goodbye, our viewers. Thank you.
And this is your command, Chinedu Godson Adiele, signing off. And remember, Tuesday is another wonderful day. This is your favorite program, Issues of the Moment. We'll come up with more interesting topics on Tuesday. So keep it there with us and keep watching other programs on Living Television. Bye for now.